This video explains the distributive property of multiplication. Normally when you are taught this in school and hear the term distributive property, the first thing they show you is this: A times the quantity B plus C equals A times B plus A times C. And to everybody I know, it just seemed like another formula that you needed to memorize, and it didn't actually mean anything. So in this video, I'm going to show you what it means, and it's actually going to make sense to you. So here we go. So here we have 3 times 14. So we have 3 on this side and 14 on this side, or we have 3 of 14, 3 14s. When my kids figure this out, usually what they would do here is add 30 plus 12 and get the answer. What they're doing is the distributive property. In symbols, it looks like this: 3 times the quantity 10 plus 4. So here's 10 plus 4, and we have 3 of them. We're multiplying 3 times 10 plus 4. That's the same as 3 times 10. Here's 3 times 10, plus 3 times 4. Here's 3 times 4. So we're adding 3 times 10 to 3 times 4. 30 plus 12. And that gives you your answer. All right, so here we have 4 of the 8 rod. 4 times 8 or 8 times 4. I separated it into 2 plus 2 over here. So instead of 4 altogether, we have 2 and 2. And so then we have 8 times 2 and 8 times 2. And that's exactly what happened here. Here's the breaking the 4 into 2 plus 2, and 8 times 2 right here, plus 8 times 2 right here. And this is exactly how my children figure out 8 times 4 when they don't know it. They will pull them apart because they know 8 times 2. So they take what they know and they use that to get the answer to a problem they don't know. So they'll do 16 plus 16 is 32. Here's 9 times 6. My kids would break it into 2 groups here, so that the 6 is 5 plus 1, and then they would multiply 9 times 5, because they'd be able to figure that out by counting by 5s. They know that 9 times 5, 5 times 9 is the same thing, so they'd count by 5s and get to 45 here. So 9 times 5 is 45, and then they can just add 9 times 1, which is 9, and 45 plus 9 is 54, and so they'd get the answer by doing it that way. And here it is written in symbols. 9 times 6 is the same as 9 times 5 plus 1, 5 and 1. And that's the same thing as 9 times 5, which is this group, plus 9 times 1, which is this. You add them together, and that's your answer. I just recently learned that the distributive property actually works with subtraction as well. And I had seen my children do this with the rods, but I guess I didn't realize that it was the distributive property at work. So let me explain this. My 6-year-old was trying to figure out 8 times 7 before. And she did this in her head, not with the rods, but this is how you would show it with the rods. So here is 8 times 7, and she didn't know that right off. So what she thought is, well, I do know 8 times 10. 8 times 10 is just 80. And so if I subtract 3 8s, then I'll have 8 times 7. So 80 minus 3 8s is what she did. Now she didn't actually know what 3 8s was, so what she did is 80 minus 16, and then that minus 8, and that gave her her answer. So if we look at the symbols over here, this is how it works. 8 times 7, that's this. 7 is the same thing as 10 minus 3, right? So here's 10, and we're going to subtract 3. And that's written right here. So that will give us 8 times 7. So that's the same thing as 8 times 10, right here, minus 8 times 3. And that will give us our answer of 8 times 7. And so that's how my 6-year-old does this, and how I believe pretty much any other child would be able to do this if they have a chance to use the rods to figure these things out, because it becomes a visual and kinesthetic way to remember how to do these things. And my kids have not seen anything like this, and I'm not about to show this to them until they're older. But when they learn this, and when they see this thing right here, they're going to understand that. And even if they forget it, they'll be able to recreate it for themselves because they'll have so much experience using these rods doing exactly the same thing. So use the rods to help teach the distributive property of multiplication.